Okay, I believe we're now live. So I'd like to welcome members, officers, and members of the public to this virtual licensing subcommittee hearing. Please note that the hearing is being live streamed and the recording will be available following the meeting on our YouTube channel. Before the hearing starts, I would like to confirm that members, officers, and other parties in attendance can hear and be heard. So I'll start with members of the panel. So we have Councillor Keith Hoskins. Can hear you, Councillor Hoskins. Can you hear us? Okay.
Yeah.
Brilliant. Thank you. I have Councillor Bryony May.
Yes, hello, good morning.
Good morning. Thank you. Councillor Stephen Patmore.
Yes, good morning, Robbie. I can hear you.
Good morning. Thank you. And Councillor Dave Winstanley.
Yeah, thanks, Robbie. Yeah, I can hear.
Thanks very much. And then on to officers, we have Megan Harvey.
Yeah, good morning. Can hear you.
Good morning. Thank you. Jasmine Jennings.
Good, thank you.
Thanks, Jasmine. And Dimple Ruchand.
Morning.
Morning. Thank you very much. Next, we have attendees from the applicant side. So we have Katie Matthews.
Yes, I'm here. Hopefully you can hear me.
Yes, we can hear you. Thank you very much, Katie. We have Tara Gear.
Yes, good morning. Can you hear me?
Yes, thank you very much. We have Stuart Matthews.
Yeah, morning. I can hear you.
Morning, Stuart. Thank you. We have Emma Rowe.
Good morning. I can hear you.
Good morning. Thank you very much, Emma. With Philippa Smith.
Yeah, good morning. I can hear you. Can
Good
you
morning.
hear me?
Yes, yeah, I can hear you perfectly. Thank you. We have Roy Darcy.
Yeah, I can hear you.
Thank you very much, Roy. And then finally, we have Oliver Monroe.
Good morning.
Good morning. Thank you. And next, we have other persons. So we have Chris Strickland, if you can hear us. I'll come back to that at the end. We have Jeanette Hazelden. Also another one I'll come back to. Lisa Brown. Another one I'll come back to as well. Mira Patney.
Yes, I'm here. I can hear you.
Thank you, Mira. And then finally, we have Kay Croft.
Yes, I'm here.
Thanks very much, Kay. I'll just go back as I can see the others in the room. So we have Chris Strickland. Can you hear us, Chris?
Yeah, sorry, I didn't know how to unmute it. So.
No problem.
I've used Zoom for a long time.
That's fine, no problem. I'm just checking through the room now. I think that we've gone through everyone, but is there anyone else in attendance that I haven't called out? Brilliant. Okay, so we move on to item 1, which is the election of a chair. Can I please request nominations for chair of this meeting of the subcommittee?
Yeah, I nominate Dave Winstanley.
Thank you. And can I have a seconder for Councillor Winstanley?
Yes, I'll second.
Thank you very much. If there's no objection from members, then I confirm that Councillor Dave Winstanley is therefore elected as chair for this meeting, and I will now hand over to them. Thank you very much.
Thanks very much, Robbie. Thank you. Can I nominate the reserve member myself, or do I? Robbie, is that?
If you just ask for a nomination for the
okay, yeah, sorry, yeah. Can I have a nomination for the reserve member, please?
I nominate Keith Hoskins.
I second that.
Well, thank you. So, Councillor Keith Hoskins is therefore the reserve member at this subcommittee meeting. Could I please invite the community officer to outline the hearing preliminary, which is detailed on page 3 of the agenda pack?
Thank you very much, Chair. So, the subcommittee will consist of 3 voting members with a 4th non-participating member listening to the hearing. In the event that a voting member loses connection, the hearing will adjourn until connection can be restored. If the adjournment exceeds 10 minutes or it is apparent sooner that reconnection will not be possible, the fourth member will replace the absent member and become a voting member of the subcommittee. If a quorum of 3 members that have been present throughout the hearing is not possible, the hearing will be adjourned to a stated date. Licensing officer. The licensing officer will be invited to present their report and any updates to this, and other parties will be able to ask questions of fact on this. The subcommittee may also ask questions of the licensing officer when they present their reports. The applicant or their representatives will be invited to present their submission and any updates to this, and like the report of the licensing officer, other parties will be able to ask questions of fact on this, and members of the subcommittee will also be able to ask questions of the applicant's representatives. Then the other persons will be invited in turn to present their submissions, and other parties will be able to ask questions of fact on this as well. And the subcommittee may also ask questions of the other persons. When invited to ask questions, all parties and members should use the raise hand function to indicate that they wish to speak, and the chair will notify you of when it's your turn to speak. Please refrain from speaking at any point other than when invited by the chair, if that's possible, please. In terms of closing statements, each group will have, in the following order, will be invited to make closing statements to the subcommittee. Questions may not be asked by other parties of the subcommittee at this stage. So the order will be the licensing officer, followed by the other persons, and then followed by the applicant or their representatives. In terms of the decision, the subcommittee will undertake their deliberations in private and return to announce their determination on the live stream. However, they will not wait until all parties are connected to make this announcement. A copy of the decision will be forwarded, however, to all parties electronically as soon as practicable. Are there any questions before we start the hearing? I'm not seeing any at all, so I will hand back to the chair.
Well, thanks very much, Robbie. Can I please invite the legal advisor, Dimple Roopchand, to outline the matters for consideration at this meeting?
Morning, Chair. Thank you. So before you today, you have an application for the grant of a premises licence pursuant to Section 17 of the Licensing Act 2003. The licensable activities that have been applied for are the provision of films, which is Sunday to Thursday from 10 a.m. to 9 p.m. and Friday and Saturdays 10 a.m. to 10 p.m. You've then got the provision for live music, which is Sunday to Thursday 12 noon to 8 p.m. and on a Friday and Saturday 12 noon to midnight. The same hours have been applied for recorded music, and there's also the sale of alcohol, which is on a Sunday to Thursday from 12 noon to 10 p.m. and on a Friday and Saturday from 12 noon to midnight. There's been no representations that have been received from the responsible authorities. There have been conditions that have been agreed with environmental health, which, if the licence is granted, can form part of the conditions to the licence. They're set out at paragraphs 4.3 of the report, and there's 7 conditions there. There has been 8 representations that were received, which are in appendix, one of the appendices to the report, and those, as a result of those representations, the applicant has provided a response, which is set out at paragraphs 4.10 in the report. It's noted as part of those, as part of that response, that the applicant is now willing to limit outdoor licensable activities to 10 p.m, save for an annual Country Boots event, which they would request a specific condition allowing a one-off extension for licensable activities to 11 p.m. So just it would be helpful for the applicant when the applicant does make their submissions for them to confirm that 10 p.m. condition is for the provision of live music, recorded music, and supply of alcohol on a Friday and Saturday, and whether the rest of the hours that are applied for remain as within the application. You'll hear from the objectors, and following that, the options that the members have in determining this application is A, to grant the application as made, B, grant the application with conditions, as well as the ones that have been offered up, and C, refuse the application. Sorry, Chair, one thing, there was also a condition that has been agreed with Public Health, and that is at paragraph 4.4 of the report as well. So that if the application is granted, that will become a condition of the licence too.
Right.
Those are my submissions, unless you've got any questions.
Nothing from me, no. Thank you very much, Dimple. That's great. Could I please invite the licensing officer, Megan Harvey, to present any
Chair, if I
additions?
may.
Oh, beg your pardon.
Thank you. I just wanted to explain my attendance this morning. So for those of you who don't know me, I'm Emma Rowe and I'm the chair of the Baldock Community Fireworks Committee. It's a post I've held since 2019 when I took over the running of this local community-led event. But some will recognise me as their local representative after I was elected as one of the 3 district councillors for Baldock West in May 2024. Having consulted with our monitoring officer, I wanted to highlight that my attendance today is solely in my capacity as chair of the community fireworks and in support of the applicant, but I'm not here in my capacity as councillor. I'm very happy to answer any questions specifically relating to the fireworks event or anything more generally, should that be deemed necessary by the committee.
Thank you for clarifying that, Emma. And can I just check, so the community fireworks event is one of the CI or the CIC that's mentioned in the report that provides events at the premises?
It's not part of the CIC, no.
No, okay.
It's a separate standalone working in partnership with the applicant.
Okay, all right, thank you. Okay, all right. Okay, we'll move on. So yes, please can I invite the licensing officer, Megan Harvey, to present any additions or amendments to the report, please.
Good morning. There are no amendments to my report. However, I do have a number of comments in relation to today's hearing. To assist the subcommittee and residents in fully understanding the extent of the application and the conditions offered already by the applicant as part of the operating schedule, I have summarised the licensable activities, timings and licence conditions. This summary has been provided to the subcommittee and all parties to the hearing today and is admissible as it is merely a summary of factual information provided within the hearing pack. It is this summary that the subcommittee are being asked to consider today. You will have seen from my report that I've redacted a considerable amount of the representations. A summary of the reasonings for the main redactions is included in my report at paragraph 8.14. I remind all parties that any redacted information cannot be discussed at today's hearing, and any oral contributions from other persons must relate specifically to relevant areas of their representation or expansion of these points. New information not included in the written representation cannot be introduced during the hearing. For example, if the representation deals solely with the matters of public nuisance, the oral presentation cannot then cover other licensing objectives. Now I'll move on to just explain the licensing objectives. So the prevention of crime and disorder. This relates to matters of crime or disorder on or in the immediate vicinity of the premises which falls within the control of the licence holder. Control should not be placed on the licence holder for patrons beyond the immediate vicinity of the premises. However, members may give consideration to my comments on the COTIS case detailed in paragraphs 8.10 to 8.13 of my report. Public safety. This relates to the safety of patrons on the premises or in the immediate vicinity, for example, car parking areas, access roads, and the highway immediately outside the premises. The prevention of crime and disorder. This relates to nuisance coming from or associated with the premises and can cover matters of noise, light, litter or odour. Examples of music or people noise coming from the premises or noise nuisance directly associated with the premises. The protection of children from harm. This relates to the protection of children using the premises both morally or physically. For example, children should be safe on the premises and should not be subject to anything inappropriate to their age group, such as age-related films or products or alcohol consumption. As this is a new premises, the subcommittee should consider the impact or likely impact on the licensing objectives of the proposed activities and timings. Please note, in my report, I have detailed that the premises have had a number of temporary event notices. This is at paragraphs 1.2 and 1.3 of my report. Members should be aware that there would be the right to review the licence in respect of any issues relating to the licensing objectives, should you be minded to grant a licence today. However, if you believe the likelihood of an adverse impact on the licensing objectives would be unreasonable to residents, you're entitled to reflect that in your decision today. Members are reminded that the Licensing Act 2003 should not ordinarily seek to replicate matters addressed or regulated by other legislation. A premises licence does not circumvent the licence holder's duties under any regulatory or legislative regimes. I'll now move on to the deregulation of entertainment. So under the Licensing Act 2003, school events on school premises such as plays, live or recorded music, dance performances or indoor sports are generally exempt from requiring an entertainment licence, provided that they are hosted by or on behalf of the school and take place between 8 AM and 11 PM. The details of this can be found at section 182 guidance, point 16.6. The licensing safeguard is that a review hearing could remove the deregulation if evidence showed the licensing objectives were not being met and residents were experiencing unreasonable nuisance. If deregulation is removed, all live or recorded music would require a license with restrictions on timings, activities, and entertainment conditions applying at all times. For this reason, the application includes timings during the current deregulated period to ensure that these activities can continue if deregulation is later removed. Thank you, Chair. I'm happy to answer any questions.
That's brilliant. Thanks very much, Megan. Does the applicant or their representatives have any points of clarification for the licensing officer?
I'm assuming that would be my thing to do.
Yeah, that would be, yeah.
Yeah.
Please go on.
So I'm Katie Matthews. I'm one of the directors of the Baldock Events Forum. We are the third party that is mentioned in the application. Yep. So I've prepared a bit of a speech which sort of summarises everything.
Well, at this stage, it's just if you've got any questions for the licensing officer, it's not you'll have an opportunity in a moment to actually do your no. Okay, that's fine. Anyone else got any questions for Megan?
Yes, but I can't find the hand. I can only put my actual hand up.
Okay, yeah, Tara, I can see your actual hand, so we'll go with that. Yeah.
Can I just ask the licensing officer whether there have been any complaints that have followed, because there are a large number of tens, whether there has been anything that has been put to the licensing officer for any events at Hartsfield previously?
From reviewing our records in preparation for the hearing, I did not see any complaints regarding any of the temporary events.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Do any of the other persons, so any of the sort of objectors, have any points of clarification for the licensing officer? I'm not seeing any hands, virtual or physical. And okay, so do any members of the subcommittee, so any councillors, do you have any points of clarification for the licensing officer? No, and no hands. Okay, great. So now, Katie, please can I invite the applicant and or their representatives in turn to present their submission supporting the application.
Sorry, Chair. I just see a hand from Chris there.
Oh, okay. Sorry. Yeah, I can't see it because it's got the banner that says this is being live streamed. Looks like it's covering it. So
okay.
I think it's blocked out the hand. So I beg your pardon, Chris. Please go ahead.
Yeah, thanks. It's just in relation to that last question. On a similar vein, so there were no objections I'm hearing from previous events, but can you just confirm the numbers of people that were allowed at those events and the when sale of alcohol would finish and the time the events would have finished as well, please? Because I think that's pertinent to that question.
Hi, Chris. So the maximum amount of attendees at a temporary event notice can only be a maximum of 499. In relation to the times, I don't have them to hand, but I can have a look at that and get back to you.
Yeah, that's great. Thank you. I think my point is that we wouldn't have complained beforehand because the events weren't finishing late and there wasn't lots of noise and huge numbers of people.
No, that's fine. I'll have a look at that for you.
Great. Thanks, Megan. Okay, so yes, back to the applicant. So yeah, can I please invite the applicant and their representatives in turn to present their submissions supporting the application.
So that's me up then. So again, I'm Katie Matthews. I'm one of the 3 directors of the Baldock Events Forum. We abbreviate it to the BEF because it's a bit of a mouthful otherwise. I'm also the person who's behind other events, including the Baldock Festival Street Fair, the Baldock Christmas Fair, and Country Boots Baldock Roots is a fundraiser that I run. I'm a mum of 2. Both of my children attended Hartsfield, so I'm familiar with the staff, the school, how it all operates there. Everything I do centred around the community. I'm a fundraiser for Feed Up Warm Up as well as the Hitchin Pantry. I'm also a Beaver leader. I sit on the committees for the BEF, the Baldock Festival, and more recently Ballstock. Everything that I do is about sort of creating events for the community, which are safe and family orientated events. They bring people together, support the town and align with the licensing objectives. I'm also a local business owner. The other directors of the BEF are Stuart Matthews. They bring a huge amount of experience as well. So Stuart runs a large security company. He works on major events, including Ascot, large fireworks displays, massive sporting events, music festivals. So safety and event management are something he deals with every day. Tara Gear is the Director of Social Services for a London Borough. So safeguarding is literally her job. She's also the designated premises supervisor named on the application, and she takes that responsibility incredibly seriously, and she will work closely with the school to ensure effective event management. The purpose of this application is not to expand events or bring in commercial festivals or anything like that. It's simply about giving us a safer and more practical way to run the events that already happen at the school without being restricted by temporary event notice limits. And it's to ease the financial burden of applying for multiple notices for the school on an already stretched budget. I really want to stress as well that this is a primary school site and all of the events held there will be appropriate for that setting. We're talking about family orientated events, not late night entertainment or anything unsuitable for children or the neighbouring families. There is absolutely no plans to introduce events that would negatively impact residents or change the feel of the area. And whilst we appreciate that each case is considered on its own merit, it's important to note that it's very standard for schools to hold some form of licensing for community and fundraising events. So locally, schools including KTS, Hitchin Boys, Hitchin Girls, St Chris's, Ickleford Preschool, among others, all hold either a premises licence or a club premises certificate. So this application isn't exceptional or a break from the norm for a school site. At the moment, when we apply for a 10, we are then given a capacity limit of 499, and this includes everybody on site, not just the attendees. So you've got to take into consideration sort of volunteers and staff, security, medics, etc. And this reduces the number of tickets that we can sell and ultimately how much money we can raise. A premises licence would simply allow existing events to run more effectively. It's not an application for raves, EDM events or large-scale entertainment. There's no plans to hire the grounds out to commercial promoters or outside organisers. As previously mentioned, the third party referred to in the application is the BEF, which is a local not-for-profit group made up of volunteers experienced in running safe community events, as well as local councillors who regularly give feedback about the local community and any relevant legislation. The application is purely to support the current programme of events that already take place at the school, so including the Baldock Community Fireworks, the school camp out, Country Boots Baldock routes and other indoor fundraising evenings. These events have taken place responsibly for many years without any recorded incidents or significant disruption to residents. We are committed to keeping any impact on neighbours to a minimum. Outdoor events would normally finish by 10 p.m, i.e. the fireworks or school camp out, with just one requested extension each year for Country Boots to finish slightly later. Our original application had a finish time of midnight, so that was just generic for the whole site, so anything that perhaps would take place indoors, e.g. a quiz night or a bingo night, things like that happen. Sorry, I've lost my spot now. Yeah, it had an original finish time of midnight. However, taking on board the objections that have been raised, we offered an 11 p.m. cut-off for Country Boots, which only happens once a year, and we hope that the committee deems this to be an acceptable compromise. All events will have detailed event management plans. These cover safety, sound, safeguarding, traffic, alcohol management, etc. And we work with the North Herts Safety Advisory Group, ensuring that all of the events uphold the 4 licensing objectives and take on board any advice that they may offer us. At the end of the day, this application is simply about continuing the current programme of well-run events at Hartsfield, improving safety and capacity management, as well as helping raise important funds for school and wider community, whilst continuing to be good and considerate neighbours.
Well, thank you very much, Katie. Appreciate that. Do any of the other persons have any points of clarification for Katie? I'm not seeing. Oh, yes, Chris.
So, I suppose my confusion lies because she said a couple of times that it's about safer, more practical ways of running events and running on the same lines that they are currently run on, but that's not what's being asked for, because there's been an ask for an extension to the time that alcohol can be served, and then I'm not seeing a limit on the number of people who can attend the events. So for me, that's not the same. That is a significant change.
Am I allowed to respond?
Yeah, by all means, yeah.
Yeah, so like I said, that midnight finish time wasn't we're going to run an event every Friday and Saturday that will run until midnight. It was simply because of the vast sort of catalogue of events that the school hold, i.e. some indoor events like bingo nights, quiz nights, they may run on slightly later. So it was more of a generic thing to just put everything, so that everything that the school does would be included. It was never an intention to utilise that to, you know, the full thing every weekend. It was simply to cover any event that may run on a little bit later. And with regards to the capacity, like I say, so for example, I'm obviously here in a Country Boots perspective. So a 10 limits me to 499 people. If I, bear in mind, this is an event that I put on myself, and, you know, I put a lot of hard work and stuff into it. It's also a charity fundraiser. So what I don't want to be doing is spending thousands and thousands of pounds on infrastructure. I only want to keep it a small, manageable thing. So we're probably looking at an ideal amount of tickets sold for me would probably be around the 600, 650 mark. So not, you know, not thousands. I mean, I think that school field, I worked out the other day, could fit about 20,000 people on it. You know, I'm talking about 600, 650, that sort of figure. Obviously, the fireworks has more people. I think Emma could probably confirm how many are in attendance for that, but this is a one-off event with perhaps an extra 100, 150 people than we had on site last year. If it was any bigger than that, I would be spending more on security, toilets, infrastructure, and then it doesn't become viable as a fundraising event. And it would be too big for me to handle myself as well.
Thanks, Katie. Have you got any follow-up questions for that, Chris?
Yeah, I don't want to sort of take over the meeting. I've got a few thoughts on that, but I guess if the plan is not to have more than 650 odd people, why doesn't it say that in the license? Because I fully take on board the views of the current management, but who's to say what will happen in the future? And if it's an open-ended license, things could change. So I guess having clear and specific guidance on when things can happen, when alcohol can be served, how many people can be there, that sort of makes more sense and would be more reassuring than what feels a bit like an open-ended request to have potentially events of any size in the future.
Understood. Yeah, thank you.
Can I make a point, please?
Okay. Yes, Emma. Sorry, Emma had her hand up and it's gone now. So, oh, there you are. Yeah. Would you, Emma? Would you be able to just answer that question about numbers in terms of the fireworks as well? I don't know if that's what you were raising your hand for, but if
was what I was going to answer or suggest was another element to take into account whenever you're running an event is insurance, and ultimately any event organizer is limited by caps on their insurance. So and they purchase insurance to meet certain numbers. So it is, whilst I appreciate Chris's point there that there is a sort of uncertainty if it feels open-ended, the reality is you wouldn't be able to obtain insurance to run these sort of local, small, community-led events for greater numbers than 5,000 people. As Katie pointed out, the site could hold many, many more, but that's again has never been the intention of any of the events held at the property to date. These are small local events to generate income for the school and for surrounding communities. They're not for profit, and again, to reiterate, this isn't about bringing in huge companies with much larger resources that would look to hold events for 20,000 people. That is not the intention and never will be.
Great, thank you, Emma. Any other questions from the other persons?
Yes, please.
Yes, Kay.
I kind of agree with Chris. I believe this license is too open-ended. And I come from a place where I used to run all the big events in Biggleswade. I used to be their office manager, so I do know what I'm talking about. I feel that the license applied for is far too broad. It needs to be narrowed down a bit because, as Chris said, it's open-ended. Who's to say that the school gets a new head in September or whenever, and they want the school to be a money-making machine? I think there needs to be some kind of restriction on the time period for this particular license. I don't know whether that's possible or not.
Okay, thank you very much, Kay. Katie, are you coming back on that?
Yeah, sorry. The other gentleman who's got his hand up, Ollie Monroe, he is actually the new head who's going to be taking over in September. So we've invited him to this meeting so that he can speak and reassure you that that will not be the case.
Okay, I think so. Mira has her hand up. I think that's another question for you, Katie. So we'll just bring in Ollie very quickly just on that point. Sorry, Mira, I hope that's okay.
Thanks. Yeah. Hi, I'm Ollie Monroe, so I'll be taking over from Philippa in September. I mean, look, I appreciate that, I'm going to say this, but I can assure you I have absolutely no intentions of coming in and organising huge events. I mean, what the school is already doing is significantly greater than what I am used to. So I think it's amazing what they're doing for the community. It's definitely not my agenda. I'm going to have far too much on my plate to be even thinking about larger events. And obviously, as a school, the school has significant responsibilities, and I'm aware of that as head for all the elements of things that people are talking about. So the idea that we're going to do these massive events that go on late into the night frequently, I assure you it will not be happening under my watch.
Thank you, Ollie. I appreciate that. Okay, can I will just go to Mira. Do you still want to speak?
You. Yes. So I just wanted to, I guess, echo the same as Kate and Chris. There are concerns with it being an open license. We obviously intend to live here for a very long time. And whilst at the moment you can guarantee that we are only running the events that currently are being managed, that's not clear. That there's no guarantee that that will be the only events run in 10 years' time. And when you talk about the insurance in it only covering 5,000 people, that is half the population of Baldock. That's a significant number of people to be in a school.
Sorry.
I mean, I know you're not saying that's how many people would be there. However,
sorry to interrupt, Mira. Can I, Dimple?
Sorry. Chair, sorry. At this stage, we're only dealing with questions.
Yeah. I did see. Yeah,
from the applicant's representation. The objectors will have a chance to.
Yeah, we'll get onto that in the next
and
bit,
raise their representations.
Yeah. Okay, yeah. So can Mira, sorry, so we'll come back for your actual submissions shortly. So Robbie?
Yeah, no, sorry. I was just going to echo what Dimple said. There should be points of clarification at this stage, so the questions should just relate to what people have said rather than...
So we'll wrap this up then if there's no other specific questions for Katie as the applicant. And then we'll get on to the other persons and their submissions shortly. So are there any questions for the applicant from the members of the subcommittee? I've got a couple, I think, but I'll wait and see if they're covered by anyone else before I ask. So no, so I think, so a couple of mine have been answered. One I just had, because I haven't attended the Baldock, the Country Boots. I just wondered about noise management in terms of speaker placement, in terms of, just a little brief overview on that, on how that's, arranged in consideration of neighbours. That's my first question. And the other was, I noticed that the main access to the school is off of Clothall Road, but there's also the access at the back, which leads into Yeomanry Drive. I just wondered if that back access was ever used for these extracurricular events. They are my two questions, I believe.
Okay, so with regards to the noise management for Country Boots, I get in an external company, Event Production Live. He is well versed in, events are his life. So he is, well versed in what's acceptable and everything. So for example, last year, the speakers were placed in a way to cause as least disruption to the surroundings as possible. And throughout the day, multiple readings were taken from various points. There was points on Clothall Common, right in front of the stage, a little bit further back, over the road by the garages on sort of Clothall Road. Like I say, throughout the day, and they were all sort of monitored and recorded. So, and they were all within the acceptable limits, which I believe there's something where the actual limits that were recommended have been withdrawn, but we still use those as a guide. So we're still adhering to those. And then with regards to the exit on Yeomanry Drive, so from a ticketing perspective for the event that I do, I don't use it for entrance, so that there is one point of entrance where everyone is wristbanded, and then at the end of the evening, when we are leaving, then those people who live on Clothall Common are able to use that exit, so they don't have to walk all the way around.
Yeah, okay, that's great.
But Emma may have some points to make on that, because obviously fireworks.
Yeah, brilliant. Thanks, Katie. Yeah, Emma, from a fireworks perspective or otherwise.
Thank you. So, again, very similar to Country Boots, we work with professional companies for exactly this reason. This isn't me being let loose with a very large speaker. We have a professional sound team. The stage is put as far away. It's put bang in the centre of the site, specifically to minimise disruption to our surrounding neighbours, which, as you correctly note, is all encompassing. And in and again, that sound is monitored throughout the event. It doesn't go on as late as Country Boots or other events that happen at the site, of course, but it is an inherently noisy event, and the fireworks themselves can be seen from quite a way away and heard from quite a way away. It is for up to 15 minutes only, however. And then in terms of usage of the site, the two entrances, you're correct, there is an entrance on Yeomanry Drive. We did use it last year. And with limited success, actually, we found nearly everybody came in through the main site, even though the other was advertised. What I would say is there is a commitment from a safety perspective, of course, in the event of a situation. Yes, of course, both sites would be used and are well lit because, again, fireworks happen in the dark. But again, as a demonstration of how the organisers and myself approach this, is that even if it means using less, sort of separating some of your volunteers and staffing a gate that's barely used, we will continue to do that to facilitate entry and exit for people and for our local residents. So yes, both sites are used, although most people do enter from, whether that's because they've been doing something in the town and then have come onto the fireworks, I don't know, but nearly everybody came in through the main entrance. What I would also highlight is that the only vehicle access is for professional individuals staffing the event, setting up and vehicles, providing food and so on. So in terms of kick-out points, there is no major vehicle dispersal because that most people almost everybody arrives on foot and departs on foot.
Yeah, that's brilliant. Thank you both for clarifying that. Yeah, okay, so right, no other questions from members. So are there any other representatives of the applicant who wish to make a representation? Was it just you, Katie, as the main? Yeah, that's fine. Okay, so now we'll move on. So the bit we referred to earlier on, we'll move on to the other persons. So I have a list here. So we'll start. I'm gonna follow the list in the order that they are on my paperwork here. So can I invite the other persons in turn to present their submissions opposing the application? And I'm going to start with Chris Strickland, if that's okay.
I must have picked the short straw then. Okay. I've been very pleased to hear that the application for extending the license to midnight was listened to and reduced. That's great. Also, the point being made around there won't be so many events held, and the current head teacher has made it clear they wouldn't be looking to extend it. That doesn't deal with my primary concern, which is about numbers. Now, we've already heard today, as Emma's kindly told us, for insurance purposes, could be 5,000 people. The other aspect which it mentions in the application is around safety, but it doesn't define what a safe limit would be. So I'm assuming that would be at least the same or perhaps more. So as a resident, and just so you know, I've lived here since the early 1990s, and all three of my children went to Hartsfield. So I have experienced the noise that happens next door, because it's 2 doors from where I live. My concern is there's been more than one head teacher. I don't know who's going to be the head teacher in future. I don't know what the appetite will be in future to hold events. I don't know what that appetite for the size of events will be. But what I do know, if there's a license that enables events to be any size and only limited by insurance and safety, that indicates to me that, and that there appears from the discussions to be an appetite to increase the numbers, but there's no ceiling on the numbers. I listen to, every year we have Country Boots. It's noisy. There's no doubt about that. I don't have a problem with it because it's once a year. It ends at a reasonable time, and there aren't people drinking until the early hours, creating a havoc for the surrounding neighbourhood. So that's fine. We have the Buffs, which is just over the road from Hartsfield, they do go on till quite late at night, and that is quite noisy. And because we're high up, we can hear everything that's going on, and that does get quite disruptive at times. So I do know that events will be noisy and they will be disruptive for the surrounding area. So, you know, I guess what I'm saying as a resident, I don't want to be a killjoy. I'm quite happy for events to take place. I just like a bit more clarity about how many are going to take place and the size, the number of people, because having an open-ended number like this is just uncomfortable for me. And I take what Ollie said in good faith. I have every reason to believe he's saying what he says and he means it. But, you know, people do come and go, we all do. And I've seen at least 2 or 3 head teachers over the last 20 years who all have clearly had a different appetite, because as Ollie said, he's taking on a role where the amount of entertainment that happens at the school is far more than he's previously experienced. So that would have been the appetite of the previous head teacher. So I guess that's sort of where I am. I'm okay with the change in times that's been proposed. I'm okay with the alcohol changes, but I'm not okay with an open-ended number for events.
Okay, many thanks for that, Chris. Yeah, can I ask, so Katie, on behalf of the applicant, to if you've got any points of clarification for Chris, bearing in mind that we did cover some of this earlier on, but obviously that was in the slightly wrong section. But if you could, yeah, anything to clarify on that.
Yeah, I mean, the insurance thing with it being 5,000 people, I mean, capacity is event dependent. Obviously, the fireworks has, you know, a bigger reach, a bigger attendance than the other one. That is the biggest event you're looking at capacity wise. Again, Emma would have to confirm because I'm not part of the community fireworks. But like I say, I mean, you know, the only other sort of large events that take place there are Country Boots, which obviously I've just covered, and the school camp out, which is, you know, kids and parents. So those 3 are the big events, if you like, that we're talking about. And as you've said, you know, they've gone on. You're happy with them. There is no intention to change them. And I know what you're saying about the head, but with a license, you do have to bear in mind that the school is the license holder, but Tara Gear is also the designated premises supervisor. So no licensable activities can sort of take place without her supervising or, you know, overseeing, delegating. And as I said previously, you know, her job is safeguarding. So she wouldn't allow a future head who had other aspirations to use the license that is in her name for those purposes. So I hope that gives some sort of reassurance. So
that's brilliant.
Yeah.
Thanks, Katie. And yeah, Emma, do you want to come back on that?
I was going to address the point about safety and security as well, and again, from an organiser's perspective, it isn't something you take lightly. A fireworks display, for example, is that there is huge potential for issue if it's managed badly, and I take every effort to make sure that it is handled safely, and again, that is why I employ security staff actually from Stuart Matthews's team, who I've worked with now since 2019, and have provided, you know, incredible support in delivering that event. And I think it's worth noting I've been in charge since 2019. In that time, I've only had the police involved twice. One was because a lady dropped her purse and reported it as a theft. And actually it was found many months later. It had been kicked to the side in a hedge. And the other one, unfortunately, was a circumstance well beyond my control, where a homeowner had their drive parked across and threatened to murder the person that had parked across their drive. Now that's something well beyond my control. Okay. But in that what I want to do in again, demonstrating that it's not something I take lightly. I welcome the police attend every event, and the PCSO team walk through it, and again that complements the security team that are in place on the night. And again, you know, you're always looking to you know, keep your costs at a reasonable level, particularly where it's a fundraising event. But I absolutely delegate that responsibility to any of the professional teams that I work with. And if they tell me you've got this many people, you need this many security staff, that is absolutely what I do and have always done. So again, I would suggest that every effort is made to make sure we're holding friendly, inclusive, safe, family fun events that benefit the local community, and there really is no intention to broaden the scope at all.
Okay, that's brilliant. Thanks, Emma. So yeah, just to stress again, we're looking for points of clarification here.
Could I just?
Sorry,
Chair. Sorry, Chair. I can't put my hand up, but I've got something to add about the.
Yeah, sorry, I did. Sorry, Stuart. I did see you in the chat there. Yeah. So have you got a point of clarification for Chris?
So yeah, just when we're talking about worried about the numbers you're going to impact, I think it's good to have a point across that the people that are running the school, the Beth or ourselves, there's a financial restriction on how big events can be anyway, because the outlay to events nowadays is so large that you couldn't have a large event there because it wouldn't work financially. And we have to keep them small like they are to make them financially viable, to be able to give back to the community and to have them keep returning. So I think that is good. Although there is nothing noted down about the size of them, we are impacted socially and financially to what anyone can put on there. And if they couldn't go out to an outside person for the place, because it wouldn't stack up financially for anyone looking to make it as a profit making exercise.
Okay, brilliant. Thanks, Stuart. Yeah, so Chris, can I just invite you to come back to answer any of those the questions there? You're still on mute, Chris. Sorry.
I have no issue with what's been said in terms of the way events are currently managed, and of course you'd need to make sure that any event is safe. But this is not, for me, that's not the question. It's about the numbers. So I think a reasonable license would specify an upper limit, and as Katie said, she wouldn't be looking to have more than about 600 people. So my objection would go away if the license said, I don't know, for example, no more than 700 people, 750 people, and that's just plucking out of the air, because then I know that the amount of noise that can be generated on that site is within a reasonable limit. And again, every year we have the country boots, every year we have the kids staying overnight, and that's quite a noisy affair, but there aren't anywhere near that number of people. And we don't make any complaints because we recognise the school needs to function and they want to have events, which is not a problem. But if that was happening every weekend and I had 800 to 1,000, 2,000, I don't know how many people there, and I have no clear reassurance that it can't be above a specific number, then I'm just left hoping that things don't change. And that's not really a great place to be as somebody who's lived right next door for 30 odd years.
Okay, well, okay, we're sort of straying into sort of debate territory here, so I'm going to move on to the other objectives, if that's okay. So can I invite Janet Hazelden?
I think Jeanette's not here today. She's one of the other persons.
Oh, okay, all right. Lisa Brown?
I think she's also one of the people that's not here.
Right, okay, right. Mira, you're up.
Hello, thank you. Yes, I still have the same hesitations that Chris does. The uncertainty on the number of events and there being no upper limits is very concerning. I do have young children. We do live right next to the school. Aside from noise, it is the safety aspect that our house is so close. People can come and go. It's a very quiet area, but that also means that in terms of security, I feel like we're more at risk. So I don't feel comfortable by there being an open-ended license. I would like to see there being upper limits put on how many events can be run and how many people can be on site at any one time. That would make me feel much more comfortable. I understand the temporary events notices may be a less efficient way of working, but it does limit numbers on site. And for me, that is a much more comfortable place to be living. Aside from the noise, it reduces the likelihood of crime because there are far fewer people there. So yes, my hesitations and my objections are still standing.
Okay, thank you very much. Yeah, Katie, so just to remind you, we're looking for if you've got any questions for Mira or points of clarification. Sorry, you're
going there. Yeah, so with regards to the limit, we're not opposed to there being a limit. The only thing I will say is obviously the fireworks is a different kettle of fish. It does attract more people. So I don't know if there would be a way to perhaps have the fireworks as an exemption to that. But I mean, we'd be happy to sort of, cap it at 1,000 or whatever is deemed reasonable. And just with regards to Mira's comments there about the more people that you've got there, the more likelihood you are to have crime, etc. I just want to reiterate that the events that are happening at the school are predominantly parents, carers, families. They're not attracting people outside of that demographic, basically. And although I appreciate there is a fear of it, there's unlikely to be massive amount of crime as a result of the school camp out or a family friendly music festival where all predominantly sort of children and their parents in attendance. So I hope that appeases you a little, if it can.
Thanks. Mira, anything to respond to that?
Yes, so the current events are not a concern. As Chris has said, we've lived next door to it for some time. We're used to the levels of noise. It's infrequent. It's the open-ended nature of the license, which at the moment, everyone involved can say, hand on heart, we're not planning to run more events. You may not be in the same position in 10 years' time, but I will still be living here in 10 years' time. So for me, it's the open-ended nature that you can run as many events as you want in 10, 15 years' time. But if you're not in this position to guarantee that you won't do that, how can you say the next person will be? So the current events are not an issue. It's the open-ended license that's the concern.
Got you. All right. Thanks for that, Mira. Okay. And then moving on, Kay Croft, can I invite you to...
Thank you. Yes. I've lived here for 20 years and I actually love living by the school. I think it's brilliant. I love to hear the sound of laughter and chatter and all the goings on. So, it is a nice place to be. But again, I agree with all the other objectors to the fact that it's too open-ended, the licence. We're not trying to be party poopers. None of us are party poopers. I'm actually quite a sociable sort, but I do worry for the future because, being older, I want to spend a lot of time in my garden now come the next couple of years. And I don't want this fear of all these, huge events happening potentially, not now. We've got all sorts of guarantees now. It's the future that I'm worried about, as everybody else is.
Okay, thank you very much. And yes, can I ask the applicant if they've got any points of clarification for Kay? And just to remind you that it's, questions or points of clarification.
No, I think we've sort of covered everything. We understand you're supportive of the current programme of events. Obviously, none of us have got a crystal ball. All we can say is the school is a school. Any head that comes in, you would imagine, would have the best intentions of the school at heart. And we do, like I say, we do have this, double layer of protection with Tara being the DPS. Obviously, things change, but without being able to see into the future, we can't possibly, assure you that that won't happen. But none of the current people involved have got any intentions of doing anything that would disrupt you guys, or be detrimental to the workings of the school. So, that's all we can do, really. That's all we can say at this point.
Thanks, Katie. Tara, I can see you got your hand up.
Apologies if I seem to get getting feedback, so apologies if you're hearing me on my...
Oh yeah, sound quality is terrible. I don't know if that's for the same for everyone else. I can't. Yeah, I can't understand a word, unfortunately. I don't think.
No, I can't hear it either.
Chair, sorry. I would suggest probably if Tara has a question, if she could put it in the chat.
Yeah.
If
Is
she has a
that
question
okay? If you could,
if she has a question to put to the other person. If it's just a general submission, then I would leave that until the closing statement.
Yeah. So yeah, just to reiterate what Robbie said, Tara, if you can hear me, if you've got a question, if you could type it in the chat. If it's just a general point, then we can bring it up in a bit, or you can put that in the chat too. Okay, so we'll just move on. So any members of the subcommittee have any points of clarification for the other persons? No hands. And nothing from me. So.
Can I just ask one question?
Yes.
I just want to know, it's a technical question. Can we put on the license a restriction for numbers? Is that possible technically?
I'll invite Dimple to respond to that, because that would be that would come under a condition. So Dimple, would you mind answering that?
The number of attendees at an event can be conditioned, Chair, but you would need to have sufficient evidence before you that the licensing objectives are being undermined in order to do so. And also bearing in mind that if part of the conditions that have been agreed with environmental health do require an event management plan if capacity exceeds 2,000. So it would go through a rigorous process if capacity does exceed 2,000, because the safety advisory group would then be involved in that process too.
Brill, thanks, Dimple. So I think that's one for us to take away for our deliberations.
However, Chair, sorry, just to add on, it could be something that the applicant wishes to offer up. If they wish to, then they can offer up a condition on that, having heard the representations.
Okay, anything from the applicant? Yes, Katie.
Yeah, as I've said previously, we're not averse to coming to some form of compromise. I think you would need to speak to Emma with regards to the fireworks. I think from our perspective, if we were to say, a limit of 1,000 people for any outdoor event, that would more than cover. And again, 1,000 is an upper limit, not a number that we are striving for. But yeah, we wouldn't be adverse to a condition like that at all.
Okay, all right.
But again, you need to speak to Emma regarding the fireworks, which is a separate event.
Okie dokie. Right.
Absolutely, I can come in there, Chair. If
okay, yeah, let's just briefly. Yeah, that'd be great, Emma. Thank you.
I'm happy to agree to not to breach the 5,000 limit. The reality is we will never get there. Last year was our most successful event, and that was 3,500. So insurance comes at 5,000 limit, which obviously I wouldn't breach. And that alone costs a huge amount to go any beyond that would be completely impossible for a community-led event like this. So I'm certainly happy to agree to 5,000. And as you rightly say, I submit a SAG compliant EMP every year because I know the event will be above 2,000.
Okay, bro. Thanks, Emma. Chris, I see your hands up. I'm going to just move on to the next section, and it will bring you. I think it will bring you in on that. So we've had all of the objectors, I believe, have all raised their points and had questions. So now we're moving on to the closing statements section. So do the other person, so Chris, this would come under that, have any final submissions they wish to make to the subcommittee? So again, Chris, we'll start with you.
Thanks. Yeah, I don't want to keep rehashing it, but I don't think my position has particularly changed. The current limit is for 400, let's say 500 people. That's quite, in terms of noise disturbance, it's quite loud, but it's infrequent, so I don't have an issue. I would want to see an upper limit. I'm not sure double the number is necessarily an agreeable limit. But certainly I'd like to see a limit, and Katie did mention 600 earlier, so if that was 600-700 I would be okay with that. for any more than that, and I still have the same view. It's just too many people. And the second point is around frequency as well. If there could be some sort of cap on the number of events that could happen in the future, notwithstanding the current position.
Understood. Thanks, Chris. Katie, I won't bring you in at this point because we're just having closing statements from the objectors at this point. So, Mira, have you got any closing statement?
The same comments as Chris. I would like to see upper limits. I think 1,000 is a lot of people to go from 500 to 1,000. So yes, the same objections that Chris has.
Brill, thanks for that. And Kay, likewise for your closing statement.
Yeah, I feel exactly the same. We've got to restrict the licence somehow, I feel quite strongly, to an upper limit. So I just stand by the other people.
Okay, Brill, thanks for that. And so back to the applicant or their representatives, do you have any final submissions you wish to make to the subcommittee?
Yeah, just with regards to this 1,000, like I said previously, that's not a number we're striving for, but more an upper limit. So when we are looking at this application, we're looking at all the events as a whole. So, for example, the camp out. At the moment, I know when my kids were there, the event used to sell out, and I'm assuming that we were capped because of the 10. So the 1,000 is obviously this is just something that I've just sort of talking about here now. It's not something we've actually sort of discussed because we didn't sort of anticipate necessarily the capacity being something that we needed to. But just with regards to the camp out, I know that they have other families that come during the day that don't stay over. And obviously all the tickets sold all go towards raising money for the school. So it's more of having that sort of figure in my head, would be a reasonable figure to allow people to come and go and for the school to be able to sell tickets for that particular event, and not be capped sort of too low, basically.
Great, thank you. So yeah, Tara, is your mic working a bit better now? Oh, you're on mute. You're still on mute.
Can you hear me now?
There we go. That's good. Yes.
Device. I came in on my phone and I've had to switch onto a computer. Right. So huge apologies. So just a couple of closing statements. By restricting the numbers, it does cause some headaches in regards to different events. So we would have to manage that. And as Katie had pointed out, that wasn't raised in any of the objections. So obviously we haven't had a chance to respond to that. We are a responsible bunch of individuals, as Katie has quite rightly pointed out. We will adhere to any of the SAG advice that's given to us. It is a very large site in regards to management of people. We have had no issues, 3,500 people-ish attending the fireworks with no issues that impacted either on the local community or the neighbours. I am a local neighbour. My children also went to Hartsfield. I live very, very close. I take my role as the DPS. I'm the DPS for the High Street. I take my role very, very seriously. I've also been the DPS under the Thames. Safeguarding, as Katie said, is my responsibility in my job. But I suppose the bit for me in regards to managing these numbers, as Stuart's pointed out, we can't hold big scale events. I was responsible for the very large scale that used the premises license at Brandles School, which is also in Baldock, and we got up again to 3,500 people over a weekend. So I just want to say that can be managed safely. It can be managed in regards to noise levels. It can be managed in regards to the licensing objectives. And whilst I understand concerns of the neighbours, I have to live with my neighbours nearby. nearby who will know what I am doing as part of that community. So we will take the advice from SAG as part of that event management plan. But we do manage it in regards to noise, crime and disorder, in ensuring the safeguarding of our communities, and in regards to most of the events. You know, we have, as Katie's pointed out, most of these events are family friendly, also badged to people within the town. And whilst we at the moment are a smaller town, we do know that the plan to grow Baldock will mean that we will have larger amounts of people living in Baldock. So we are very happy to work with whatever the committee says in regards to this licence. But I just want to say, you know, we have loads of events that are more than 1,000 in the town that are managed incredibly well.
Thank you, Tara. Yes, Emma.
Thank you, Chair. I just thought it was also a helpful comparison, perhaps, for anybody who's not familiar with Hartsfield School. 1,000 people, actually, we're not far away from that at certain points of the time of day anyway. So there are 420 children in attendance at the school, give or take. And if you allow for a parent or a pair of grandparents collecting every child, plus staff, plus any visitors that happen to be on site, you're almost at 1,000 at certain points of the day already. So I just want to give that comparison to anyone who's not familiar with the site. You know, certainly that there isn't a danger to anybody around when we're approaching that sort of number on a regular basis. I hope that makes sense for anyone who's not local to Baldock.
Yeah, that's brilliant. Thank you very much. Tara, you still have your hand up. I presume that's from a Legacy One. Yeah. Okay. Fantastic. Right. That will close that's closing the closing statements. Can I please invite the legal officer to summarise any issues that have been raised during the hearing?
The only issue that I would raise is obviously the representatives, the objectors have raised some objections with regard to capacity, which were not included as part of their original representations through ongoing discussions as part of this committee hearing. So that is a consideration that you would need to have as part of your deliberations.
Brill. Thanks very much for clarifying that, Dimple. Do any members of the committee have any questions for the legal advisor? No hands. Okay. So, so I'd like to invite the committee clerk to explain the next part of the process. Robbie, please.
Thank you very much, Chair. So the committee will now be retiring to make a decision in private. Public viewing the meeting are welcome to wait and listen to the decision. However, this could take some time. Once the committee has made a decision, however, this will be announced via the live stream. If members believe that the decision will take too long, to avoid parties waiting, they may decide not to announce the decision live today. If this is the case, an announcement will be made to this effect by the subcommittee and the meeting will be closed. The decision would then be announced in writing within 5 working days of the meeting. Members and officers will shortly be receiving an invitation to a breakout room. A hold notice will be displayed in the Zoom call and the live stream will continue. Please note that as the live stream is ongoing, anything said during this time will be recorded. I think that's everything from me, Chair, so I'll hand back, but I think we'll be going to the breakout room shortly to make a decision anyway.
Okay, brilliant. Thanks for that, Robbie. Okay, we will be back hopefully after not too long. Just give everyone a couple more seconds just to make sure they're back on. Are we good to go, Robbie?
Yep. No. Looks like
Okay.
most people are back. So yeah, whenever you're
Yeah.
ready.
Brill. All right. Well, thank you very much for your patience while we deliberated. So yeah, I'll read out the decision notice. So the date of the hearing, Tuesday the 19th of May 2026. Councillors, the members of the panel, the councillors Dave Winstanley, myself, Bryony May, Stephen Patmore, and the reserve member Keith Hoskins. The premises licence holder's name is Hartsfield JMI School. Premises address Clothall Road, Baldock, SG7 6PB. The date of the application was the 23rd of March 2026. This is an application for the grant of a premises licence under Section 17 of the Licensing Act 2003. The subcommittee has read the material presented to it. The subcommittee has considered the national guidance and the statement of licensing policy and has come to the following decision. The subcommittee has decided to grant the premises licence subject to the following. The condition offered up by the applicant to reduce the hours for licensable activities, live music, recorded music, and sale of alcohol to 10 p.m. on a Friday and Saturday evening, except for the annual Country Boots event, all licensable activities to be extended to 2300 or 11 p.m. The condition offered up by the applicant to reduce the capacity to all events to 1,000 people, save for the annual fireworks event, for which capacity shall not exceed 5,000 people. The conditions agreed between the applicant and the Environmental Health, PS1 to PS7, and the condition agreed between the applicant and Public Health, as set out in paragraph 4.4 of the report. So just to go over the licensable activity timings for films, Monday to Thursday, 10 a.m. to 9 p.m, Friday to Saturday, 10 a.m. to 10 p.m, Sunday, 10 a.m. to 9 p.m. Live music, Monday to Thursday, 10 a.m. to 8 p.m, Friday to Saturday, 10 a.m. to 10 p.m, and Sunday, 10 a.m. to 8 p.m. Recorded music, Monday to Thursday, 10 a.m. to 8 p.m, Friday to Saturday, 10 a.m. to 10 p.m, Sunday, 10 a.m. to 8 p.m. Supply of alcohol on the premises, Monday to Thursday, 10 a.m. to 10 p.m, Friday to Saturday, 12 noon till 10 p.m, and Sunday, 12 noon till 10 p.m. Licensable activities are extended to 2300 hours or 11 p.m. for the annual Country Boots event, date to be confirmed each year. So, effect of failing to comply with the conditions explained to the applicant. The effect of failure to comply with any of the conditions attached to the licence or certificate is a criminal offence, which upon conviction would result in an unlimited fine of up to 6 months imprisonment or both. Statutory guidance considerations. The subcommittee has taken into account the guidance issued under Section 182 of the Licensing Act 2003, February 2026 version, in reaching its decision, and it has found the following sections to be of particular relevance in reaching this decision. Sections 1.3, 1.4, 1.5, 1.16, 1.17, 2.21, 2.26, 8.47, 9.3, 9.9, 9.37, 9.38, 9.42, 9.43, and 9.44. The subcommittee has taken into account the North Hertfordshire District Council's statement of licensing policy in reaching its decision. They have found the following sections to be of particular relevance in reaching this decision. D2.1, D2.4, D2.1, D2.4, D2.9, D6.2, D6.3, E3.1.1, E3.9.1, E3.9.2, O1.1, 04.1.4, 04.2.6, 04.7.1, 04.7.2. The rationale for decision. In coming to its decision, the subcommittee has had regard to the application, the representations, and the applicant's response to the representations presented at the hearing. The subcommittee aims to strike a healthy balance between the application and the promotion of the licensing objectives. The subcommittee is mindful that the representations do not object in principle to the application. However, the objections raised are not a reason to refuse the license where there is insufficient evidence to support the representations. In addressing the prevention of public nuisance licensing objective, members have taken a balanced approach and have considered the representations submitted. The subcommittee is satisfied that the conditions offered up by the applicant will sufficiently promote the prevention of public nuisance licensing objective. 4. In reaching this decision to grant the license, the subcommittee has considered that there have been no complaints lodged undermining the licensing objective since 2022 to date, for which 19 TENs, or temporary event notices, have been issued for events previously held at the premises. Commencement date. This decision will come into effect from the end of the period for appealing the decision, 21 days starting tomorrow, or if the decision is appealed, the point at which the appeal has been dealt with by the Magistrates' Court. Rights of review. At any stage following the grant of a premises licence, a responsible authority such as the police or any other person such as a resident living in the vicinity of the premises may ask the licensing authority to review the licence because of a matter arising at the premises in connection with any of the 4 licensing objectives. The review is a request for the council to look at the existing licence and decide whether its conditions are adequate to meet the 4 licensing objectives defined under the Licensing Act 2003. Ordinarily, a further review would need to focus on matters at the premises following this review. It should not be used to revisit issues raised at today's meeting. The licensing authority can refuse a further review on the grounds that it is repetitious. That is the end of the determination notice. So I would like to thank members of the public, members of the subcommittee, anyone who's made a representation, and of course the officers for their time at today's hearing. And I would like to now close the hearing. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.